Thanks for joining us today for TapRooT TV. I'm Emily Pritt, and I'm here with Barb Carr.
Hey.
And we're going to do a recap of last week when we were at the 2021 Global TapRooT Summit.
I'm so inspired. I'm always inspired when I get back from the summit. It's just, such a great week, and you meet so many interesting people and learn so much that you didn't know before. It's just great.
There was a lot of great takeaways for me as well. It was my first summit, so I really enjoyed just getting to network and also learn while I was there.
Yeah.
Learning can be fun, so I had a good time. I want to start with just doing a quick recap. We had different tracks, and so for me, I chose work-life balance as my track. But for me, some of those other courses that we had throughout the breakout sessions, I was interested, so I liked that I was able to kind of jump into some others after the fact, kind of learn a bit about that too. So of the ones that we had, the 7 were becoming a better certified instructor, compliance, investigation and root cause analysis, operation excellence and asset reliability, safety and risk management, stopping human error, and then work-life balance.
Yeah, I think a lot of people appreciate the same thing that you do. We create these tracks to make it easy for people to register, and they can look through the list and think, okay, what speaks to me in my career and my personal development the best? But they have the opportunity to kind of flex out and choose a couple sessions from other tracks too that they really like. So they're not like locked into a track.
It's awesome to be customizable in your approach as you choose these courses that you want to take and what you want to learn. So I really thought that was really neat, especially as a first-time summit attendee. And we also have some keynote speakers.
Yes, we did. Yeah. Go ahead and read them out, and we'll talk about them.
All right. So we've got Shannon Miller, Dan Verlinde, Vincent Phipps, and Inky Johnson.
Yes, they were all 4 different, and all 4 fantastic, and they all brought something fresh to the table. So, I'll just start out with Dan Verlinde with his. He did a kind of I don't know how to describe it. It was like a play.
A skit, a whole production.
It was about how to use the TapRooT evidence collection app, and they kind of reenacted what that would look like in a very humorous way. But there were some serious takeaways to take. Like, we can really use this app and collect a lot of information. But I didn't know there were so many people in that department that were so funny.
Yes.
But they really,
they're gonna skip off the Hollywood, right? I didn't know this, so it was very insightful for me to know more about the software because I'm relatively new to TapRooT and system improvements. It's a new recruit, but I didn't realize how it would hand off from being in the field and then uploading, and so that helped me understand better just how awesome our software really is.
Yeah, it makes the job easier, and you can use it if you don't have an internet connection. You can put things on, and then when you get connected, upload it. So they did that for the professionals that work out in the field, because there's not always an internet connection in the types of places that they work. So it's a really cool app, and it was a great way to introduce it to people that may not know about it.
There was an update that includes evidence collection.
Yeah, the update's coming, and that's exciting. And as Dan said, anybody who has the software, whether you have a single user version or you're using, everybody in your company is using it, it's available to everyone who uses the software.
And then he also showed us how you can customize it if you want to add a page or a tab specific to what you want to, like your data, your forms. You can build that. TapRooT empowers you to customize it exactly how you want it and what works for your company.
Yeah, and isn't that a great thing when you buy some software that you can do that yourself? Instead of reaching out or having to upgrade a package or having to wait for a tech team to give you the specifications that you want, you can just do it yourself. So I learned stuff, and I teach TapRooT, but I still learned new things about the software that I'm really excited to share going forward with classes.
We also had the gold medal mindset with Shannon Miller.
Yeah, man, I'm so proud of her. She did such a great thing for the country, and just a really neat person. I got to talk to her a little bit after the keynote, which is another great thing about coming to the summit, because usually our keynote speakers stay around for a little while, and you have an opportunity to get your picture or talk to them, ask them some questions. She was a very personable lady.
Yeah, at our reception, we also had, what are they called? Pom-poms. Yeah, pom-poms on the
Team
table.
TapRooT, yeah.
Which is with that theme. Shannon was a gymnast, and then we also had Inky Johnson, who played football.
Right.
Tell us about Inky.
Oh, you know, he has just overcome so much, but he's just the type of person that he just takes every experience that happens to him like, this is my life, and so this is what I've got to work with, and I'm going to make the best of it. And not only am I going to make the best of it, and I'm going to, exceed my expectations and everyone else's, but I'm going to help other people do that too. And he's just amazing. I love listening to him talk, and I can't remember exactly what the phrase was, but it was a lot about overcoming. Obstacles are coming for all of us. Nobody is immune to ever having obstacles coming in their life.
Because I firmly believe the greatest trick that life plays on all of us, we have a dream, we have an aspiration, we have things we want to do, we have a taproot, we have a system, we have a mission, we have a purpose, and we go out into the world and we're fired up and we want to do it and we know the importance of it. And when we get out into the world, life hits us with a level of opposition, level of adversity, and says, let me see if you remember your purpose now.
Be ready for them, and figure out how you're going to overcome them, because it's possible, it's achievable. And if you can watch him and not believe that obstacles are, it's achievable to overcome an obstacle, then you haven't really watched him very closely, because he's just amazing.
I had taken some notes.
Yeah.
I was looking for those because I know exactly
I've got some of my notes back in the office too, that because he had some really key phrases that really were meaningful to share. Yeah.
He was talking about adversity and
adversity. Yeah.
There was a lot to take away that you could apply to your life in so many areas, which was very inspirational to hear that from him. And then we also had another person who's been at another summit before. We've got another return speaker, and that was our VIP,
Vincent Phipps. Yeah, he's so full of energy. I call him a hurricane because he can't be stopped. And he has this infectious laugh, and he just is very motivating. And his keynote was awesome because he taught us a lot about each other. He's a communication specialist, and he taught us that we all have different and unique personalities, and how we might communicate better by appreciating that.
That's right.
And seeing that in each other. So what did you think about him?
Well, the VIP, of course, it's his initials, so he plays on a lot of that throughout there's a lot of acronyms, and so with LEAD, he's developed this communication style that I've been able to apply working with Barb, and we know what our styles are.
We're different, but we work together well.
Yeah. And so that works not only in the office, but outside of the office. And I like how you can apply what he talks about virtually anywhere you go.
Yes.
Because so much of what we do is communicating with each other, and we can do that effectively. And so there were a lot of takeaways for me as well with that.
Great.
And then we want to talk about some of the breakout sessions. I know there was a lot to choose from this year. I stayed within my track listings. I didn't deviate from any of those. So I know you and I were in the fatigue.
Yeah.
Let's see.
I was in fatigue, and I have some notes on that. That was interesting that 43% of working Americans report being sleep deprived. 43%. That's almost half of our workforce that believe they're sleep deprived. Yeah. It's kind of startling.
And looking at numbers and things like that, it was another just thing that was kind of eye-opening is that I believe it was if you lose an hour or two of sleep, it's equivalent to having 2 or 3 beers.
Yes.
And just imagining how that can impact our work performance if we're not fully attentive or alert based off of sleep deprivation.
Yes. They mentioned that impairment is a major factor in workplace injury. So, if you consider sleep deprivation and impairment, you can see that a lot of accidents are caused by that. So something really serious to think about.
Yeah. let's see, we have such a good list of courses. It's
Yeah.
impossible to talk about all of them
I
and our
went to-
breakouts.
I went to one with Mark Paradise did one on normalization of deviation. So it was talking about why workers practice unsafe behaviors and continue to do so. You know, they just deviate from the safe practices. And so he had some interesting things to say about that. He talked a lot about enforcement issues. That happens because of enforcement issues. Supervisors get busy. They got production schedules to meet, so people start doing unsafe behaviors, but they're rewarded for it, even though it's unsafe, because the work gets done faster. He talked about no accountability. People don't really recognize that they're accountable for the right behavior, and he kind of made a point that it's really a soon, certain, positive reward to get people to follow the rules. So when people are following the rules, it's just very close proximity, just letting them know, giving them a positive reward for doing so. And he said that what supervisors usually do are they do a delayed, uncertain, negative feedback, and that's just not helpful. So that was really interesting. That's another thing, like fatigue we talked about, can cause a lot of incidents. So can deviation, from the normalization of deviation, that could cause a lot of incidents too. So really enjoyed that session.
It's a social phenomenon where people break rules, and then the rule breaking becomes the new norm.
Right.
And I've seen that in other industries, and just going back in work history, where so many people will say, well, this is how it's always been done. Which is not the way it's supposed to be done, and that's one person's interpretation.
Right.
And if they continue to train people on, well, this is how it's always done, then it's gasoline on the fire.
It is.
And in a large company, it's hard to keep track of where that's happening.
Yeah.
So we want to make sure that we are following things accordingly, so that we can stop that normalization of deviation. I attended the injury proofing session.
Oh, tell me about that. I missed that one.
So it was talking a lot about our muscles and things of like how we can injure ourselves, and understanding flexibility, that there's differences in stretching versus having mobility in what we do using our bodies, especially in a lot of the injury-specific jobs that require physical labor. And so we all got up and we practiced on some different types of stretches to help alleviate some of that, make sure that we are flexible and using proper form when we're doing these ordinary tasks that can actually impact our bodies and hurt ourselves. And so it's something that seems so simplistic, like, well, of course, but you got to stretch, and you have to make sure that, especially when you're working in environments, you're wearing, PPE and things that can be really heavy, causing strain, that we're being mindful of that as well.
Oh, that sounds great.
Yeah, it's really awesome. What's another one you think that we should bring up about the summit? There are so many in here that it's hard to pick.
Yeah.
Precursors for human error was one that I popped in on, kind of understanding a little bit more about the precursors and avoiding those. We watched a couple little videos about changing a tire, and they're funny, but also kind of startling, because even how do you change a tire? You can get a different response for this from everybody. And so there's a lady, she's like pulling on the tire trying to get it come loose, and she just falls over the bridge.
I've seen that one. It's funny. Well, it's not funny, but she didn't really fall over the bridge. It was kind of a joke, but it is funny when you see that happen.
And then the third one is the guy, he sets out the cones, he puts on his vest, he straightens up the cone, and then after he's changed the tire, he stands back to admire his work. And then, can never be too safe.
Nope.
Right. Well, Barb, you had one in here.
I did.
Applying emotional intelligence to support mental health in the workplace. So tell us about that.
I had such a great time sharing about that. We can do a lot to support our workforce, and as we have been talking, there are a lot of things that cause accidents and incidents, and mental health issues are one of those things. And it's kind of the elephant in the room sometimes. People don't want to touch it. You know, it's a hot topic. Nobody wants to talk about any kind of feelings or emotions because a lot of times people aren't trained on it. I asked my group at the beginning who had been trained on emotional intelligence, because it's been around since 1964, got popular in 95, and not that many people raised their hands, but it's an easy skill to improve upon, and you really can make the difference, not only in reducing accidents and incidents in your workplace, but in people's personal lives to make them happier employees.
Yeah, being receptive.
Yeah. As I mentioned in the session, people don't quit companies, they quit bosses. So really important for bosses, supervisors, and managers to really have a handle on emotional intelligence and apply some of those. It just makes for a better work culture. And your key to success here, and please keep this note, and when you get back to your facility, you know, work the plan here and see what a difference it makes. Just keep in mind the 3 words that you wrote down that describes your characteristics that people you enjoy would say about you.
I totally agree. So we've got a lot of things in here that we pair together. We build these track listings, really try to think of what people would benefit from, what would help the most, and try to formulate and design a program, more or less, that when you come to the summit, this is going to give you the most help in areas that people struggle in their companies, that you know, there's tons in TapRooT software, or you know, being an effective instructor, or getting them, you know, being a better TapRooT user. How can you do that? What are things? What do I not know how to do? Things that are already kind of out there, they're already on the table, but people may not realize that it's already there for them to use, like the roadmap. Using that TapRooT roadmap is very insightful. Do you want to talk about what we did in that session?
Yeah, the roadmap session is an opportunity to take everything that you've learned at the summit that week, really kind of think it over and decide, okay, what are my next step forward? Because a lot of times people go to conferences and they get really inspired and really motivated, and then they get back to the office and then they're overwhelmed because they were out of the office last week, and so now they don't have time to really think about that. And so the notes from the conference go back on the back credenza, and they're never looked at again. But we really strive to not do that at our summit, and that's why the last session is roadmap, so people can really make an action plan while they are still at the summit, while this is all still fresh in their mind, of steps they want to take forward, and it's very effective.
It's very important. It's so important to do that. And there's people who return year after year. I spoke with a guy who, I think he said it's been 15 summits. Just, and so
They do.
You know, coming to something year after year, the information is so valuable, and there's courses and content that's just continually evolving and growing, because our company is system improvements.
Yes.
It's not a one-time,
Right.
hey, here's our software. You know, no, we're always improving and making it better, and it never stops.
That's right.
Yeah, I love that.
Just like anything good.
Yeah.
You know, you don't reach a pinnacle on emotional intelligence or investigation skills. You don't reach a pinnacle and just stay there. You're constantly growing and learning new best practices and better ways to do things, and that's what the summit's all about.
Yeah. So now that we've concluded the 2021 Global TapRooT Summit, we're already in the planning stages of next year for 2022. Never stops.
Never stops.
We will be putting out more information as we have that available on when it's going to be. We did already say that it will be in Knoxville in 2022, so there's that. But we hope that you tune in next week, as we do these every week on Wednesdays on Facebook Live and on YouTube. So be sure to subscribe, ring the bell, and check back here each week as we talk about more stuff with TapRooT and how to improve root cause analysis. Thanks, Barb.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.